This video I'm going to be comparing the Bestop fabric doors to the factory Mopar doors. Two wildly different doors in constructions, but if you're like me and you're looking for a complete replacement door with an upper and lower, then I think this video is going to be very helpful. Just in case you're not familiar, here's a quick overview on how to remove the factory doors. First thing you want to do is roll down all of your windows. This will protect the glass and give you an extra point to grab the door while moving it around. All JLs and JTs come with the tools needed to remove the doors from the factory. In case you have misplaced your toolkit, all you'll need is a T40 and T50 Torx head along with a driver. You'll first want to unbolt the doors using the T50, then open the door, and on the inside you will find a plastic panel that covers the door plugs. These are located near the kick panel for the front doors and along the B-pillar for the rear doors. These are just snapped in place. You can sort of pop your thumb in between the panel and pull it apart. It's pretty easy. With these unplugged, you can then lift up the safety strap that's connected to the body. Your last step is to remove the T40 door check bolt. Be careful here to make sure it doesn't go all the way inside of the door, as it's a little difficult to pull back out. At this point, you can lift off the door and your Jeep is officially doorless. A nice feature from the factory is that both the Gladiator and Wrangler have built-in hardware holders, so you can easily keep track of your door bolts. Now, if this is your first time installing the Bestop fabric doors, it's pretty easy, but I'll walk you through some of the highlights. They actually just drop into the factory door pivots. The first thing you're going to have to do is install the door handles, which is fairly straightforward. The handles attach using 4 bolts, and I found the Bestop instructions are pretty adequate to get the job done. Once you install the handles, you can move to the door limit straps. Be sure to keep the 2 nuts at the strap location loose so you can align the door with the striker. If you opted for the optional mirror kit as I did, you will need to punch the 3 holes in the fabric to allow room for the provided mirror hardware. The upper portion of this door kit slides into existing holes in the lower structure and can be adjusted using the set screw slides on the frame. It's worth mentioning that these are the twill fabric doors, which retail for around $1,700 for all 4. The mirrors were $150 on top of that. Compared to the factory doors, the Bestop doors are extremely light and easy to remove and install. The one thing that I have found, however, is that it's important to make sure that the Velcro on the outside of the door is completely released before attempting to remove the upper, as it will lift the lower half off of the hinges if it's still attached. In terms of a visual impact, I love this setup on my gator colored 2020 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon. Putting my Bestop Super Top for Trucks 2 bed cover in what I call the safari mode gives it a great look and makes for beach days with the family a little bit more of an adventure. Now, the big advantage of going with a half door kit is that you do get so much more open air freedom and visibility. It drops the belt line of the door significantly, especially compared to stock. Now, if you have kiddos in the back, this is really going to keep them engaged and allow them to see so much more easily over this smaller factory back window. I'm a big fan of having some sort of door protection over just not having any doors on at all. It gives them a little bit of element protection. Here in the southeastern part of North Carolina, we can go on the beach, which constantly is kicking up sand. This really helps protect. It's sort of that sand sting, if you will. And if you are on the trail where we do get a good bit of mud, this is going to keep everybody from getting as muddy. So I do think there's a big advantage here, especially with kids, to have some sort of element protection. I know people will just say, hey, what's the point? You can get even more airflow, just pull off the whole door. It really depends on what you're comfortable with. And at the end of the day, I'm the type of guy that likes to be able to rest my arm on something. And so having some sort of door to be able to do that, to me, just feels a little bit more comfortable. So let's talk about uppers. And yeah, it's a little loud in the cab if you can't tell. Any speed above, let's say 45, it starts to get more pronounced with how the windows just sort of flap. The fabric starts to catch a little bit of air and it goes back and forth. Some of this can be mitigated by really bending the upper portion of the frame so it's kind of sticks in a little bit better, but even then, what I have found is repeated use of opening and closing the door, it kind of goes back to where it starts to flap again. In terms of highway speeds, anything above 60, these things really start to wail out a good bit. Not so much that you're like, oh man, it's gonna fly out, but you catch these wind gusts and you can literally just put your fingers through the top of the seal in the door. It's pretty pronounced. Now, my gut is Bestop really didn't intend for these to be like your full door replacement by any means, and I really think the uppers are kind of like a, oh man, it started to rain, I need to go toss them on, or hey, I've been driving with these and I see it's going to be a rainy day, I take them with me. In terms of sealing, they don't seal out dust that well when you're moving, so if you're going down the trail and kind of moving, you still get a good little bit of dusting in, because they don't seal as well at the bottom, and if you're going at speed, they're not going to seal as well at the top. However, with water, they do a pretty good job. Even with the flapping, they stay under the drip rail pretty decently. And if it's just sitting and it's storming, what I do if it's outside is I go and basically press the door in a little bit more. That makes sure that that seal is kind of where it needs to be. The kids didn't shut the door all the way. You know, just make sure it's all of the doors and the uppers are as best that they can be. And I've actually found it doesn't really leak inside of the cab much. Surprisingly, for just sitting and it being in rain, they're not bad. So if you're worried about it sitting overnight outside with the doors on, they're pretty good. I wouldn't say they're not better than the Mopar doors in terms of sealing by any means. You're still going to get a little bit of water that seeps through, but they're not horrible. They really aren't. I thought they would be honestly a lot worse. The biggest complaint is anything over, I mean, really your highway speeds, like it's pretty loud. Like you can have a conversation with somebody, but you're going to keep your voice up with the uppers on. I'd much rather drive with the uppers not on. You don't get all the flapping where it's like pop, 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 as much, and you can tell it's just, you know, you can put a little tension on it. It makes a big difference on keeping these things in. Again, I think a lot of it's going to come down to if you can spend some time, and Bestop tells you, like pressing in the door and just trying to manipulate the frame a little bit so it keeps a better seal. I think that helps. But when you use these things a lot, and if you're not shutting it right, or your kids are slamming it, like it's almost like it comes out of line, because this is a pretty thin steel frame for what it is. So yeah, you just got to manage your expectations on sealing with these. But for the most part, they're really not bad. I think if you're really, in my mind, if you're driving with these things daily, it's really because you want to drive to work with your half doors on, and you bring your uppers just in case it's going to be you know, raining later, and you just put your uppers on in the parking lot. In terms of like on a long distance commute, or where you're on the interstate for a while, this is pretty loud, and you're either going to get used to it, and that's all right, or you're going to wear earbuds or something, so you can hear your music and make phone calls a little bit easier. And I do want to talk briefly about the latch mechanism. It's a little awkward to get to. It's kind of like a little thumb handle that you pull behind you. It does have a grab handle right here that you can pull in, so it's not that bad. It's a little hard for the kids to be able to pull it from the inside. Typically, I don't have the uppers on, and so the kids can just reach out and grab the handle that way. It's just a little bit easier. Not a big deal one way or the other, but I guess worth mentioning. And I will say it is kind of tough when you're going to pull this door shut. You have some of these seals that will like to get pushed on the outside, and so what I like to do is after we shut the doors, and I'll make sure everything's kind of pushed under the drip rail and the seals are in. So if the Jeep is sitting outside overnight, you've got the best sort of opportunity for this thing not to leak. Okay, so I've shown you what's probably the least expensive full replacement door kit on the market from Bestop. Now I do want to talk about the most expensive full replacement half door kit, which is the kit from Mopar. When I ordered my 21 Wrangler, this was a box that I could simply check. They came painted, all four with uppers, and the price was right at $4,000. Pretty big investment, and at the time I thought, well, the kids would really dig the half doors. There weren't a ton of door options for this that weren't just tube doors, so I thought this would be good. We could drive out of town, get good visibility. It does have the Sky One Touch roof, which means I can take out these rear panels here, and it gives you this awesome belt line look and view, and it's a lot of fun for riding around town. I think it's a great look. The Sarge green paint came perfect. I have no complaints about that. Overall, visually, yeah, these are a home run. In terms of comfort, the interior door panel actually isn't that nice. It's just molded plastic, and even though you do have a little bit of a better place to rest your arm, I don't know if it's enough of a selling point to say it's worth thousands of dollars more. There's no detent on the door, which I figured there would have been, basically because you already have the mount there. These are much lighter than factory, which is definitely a bonus. And you do feel like you're getting a nicer door. They already come with plugs, so your power door locks work. Mine came with mirrors. I had the factory power mirror option, so they have power mirrors on half doors. If you go off-road at all with these uppers on, and I don't know if this is mainly from off-roading or if it's just from driving every day, you get some movement from that upper, and you'll get like light scratches on this part of the paint that doesn't look great. The holes that are basically for the uppers to slide into, they come with caps, so that looks really nice and clean for, you know, driving around, and that's usually how I have it set up. I think visually they're fantastic. They're the nicest half doors I've ever had. I've had YJs, TJs, and JKs, and this is definitely the nicest overall door. Is it $4,000 nice? I don't know. Let's go for a drive and we'll talk about that. Okay, so the real question is, how much better on-road is the factory Mopar door kit? And the honest answer is they're definitely better, but really it's below 50, 60 miles an hour that they're better. Anything above that, you start to get a lot of the similar issues with the uppers will pull out from the wind. It's not nearly as bad as the Bestop doors, but for $4,000, I figured it would be quite a bit better. These have been really good in terms of sealing. I've only had a little bit of an issue with a leak out of this front driver's side door. When I get out, I always make sure to go around and push the doors in, especially if it's going to be sitting overnight, just to be, you know, a little bit more cautious with sealing properties. These look great. They are better sound deadening, but I would not want a daily drive with these. And I find that I, more often than not, just keep the full doors on this vehicle more than the half doors, despite the fact they're fun and all that stuff. There's not a real practical door, and if you want to take this thing on a trip, they're a little obnoxious. They're just kind of loud. Maybe I'm getting soft. I don't ever remember complaining about how loud my TJ soft doors were, but these are pretty loud. And at the end of the day, I do think these probably make sense for some people, especially if you're wanting to commute with a nicer door and be able to lock your door, which I don't know how much I would really lock a door that has a zipper on it, but you know, you can still toss your uppers in the back, commute to work, toss them in, so if it's raining, you get caught like that, you're in good shape. And you know, as I'm talking to you, it's really not that loud, but it's a lot louder than a full door. And if you're really like me, where you have to drive a good distance to go to any legitimate off-road areas, you're probably better off just taking your full doors and having an extra set of other doors. So here's my final thoughts on this whole half door comparison. I know there are a lot of other half door kits that exist. Savvy Off-Road makes some really good looking half doors, so does Moto-Built, and I think Moto-Built's new ones actually use Bestop uppers, if I'm not mistaken, so that's kind of cool. For my particular needs of, I wanted to be able to drive out of town with my full doors on. I just feel like it's safer with the kids. It makes a lot less noise, and I wanted to be able to get to wherever I'm going and then swap on a set of doors. That was one of the high wants in my mind, and that's why I think the fabric door kit is the better value. So I know that, you know, there's a lot of things to consider in terms of safety and what you need the doors kit for. I don't think this is the right door kit if you're an extreme rock crawler and you're trying to drag your Jeep against, you know, some boulders. Yeah, it's just fabric, so you're going to tear that up. There's no big metal protection back here that's going to protect your leg from a rock hitting the side of the door. I'm not doing that with this Jeep. I'll go off-road and I don't mind rock crawling with the kids in it, but we're not doing anything that extreme these days. It's just not. So For me, I think this is like the perfect door kit for having fun, especially going to the beach. It keeps everybody from just getting annihilated with sand, and you still get that really nice open air feel. So if you want a good optional door that will give you an upper, so if you do need that element protection, you're driving this thing to work, or you know, starts to rain out, you can run out and put these things on. I think this is a really good option. So if you got any questions, if I overlooked something, sorry, just put them in the comments. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you want to see what I'm working on behind the scenes, you can always check me out at Ollie Mansour Editor. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope to see you on the trail. All right, take care. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider subscribing to the Driving Line channel. Our goal is to excite, entertain, and educate you on all things automotive. So if you want to come be part of our journey, please hit that subscribe button, and we hope to see you on the next video. Take care.